Alright, so let's jump right into it. We got some of that deep blue from the War Paints line. I'm gonna go lay that in all the areas of the suit that isn't yellow. You can see me just doing a thin coat right there. And then soon after this, I didn't show this paint, but I'm actually going to use Turbo Dork's Tin Star on his gun and his metal arm just for like a base coat. I do go in with a contrast paint over that later, so it's not as metallic. I'm now going in for the first base coat on his parts of his yellow suit with the contrast from Citadel. It's Bad Moon Yellow. Gonna lay a thin layer of that everywhere. I will go over and cover that with a different contrast later to make it, again, not as bright. But yeah, you can just see me doing that yellow everywhere. Alright, so here I'm actually going back in with that Turbo Dork Tin Star paint to touch up his arm and actually do his shoulder pad and some of his armor on the front. And then I do go over the yellow before I do that other contrast with the Vallejo game color. It's going to be Moon Yellow. And I'm just going to do a second coat all over that yellow that I just did to brighten it up before I go ahead and darken it with the contrast paint later. Alright, so now I'm going back in with some of that deep blue that was already on the palette and just touching up some of the areas that I might have hit with the yellow by accident or vice versa. And we're just going to touch those up a little bit before moving on to the next step. And for his skin, I'm going to be going in with a little bit of matte white and barbarian flesh from the War Painter set also, and just doing a base layer on his face and his arm before we go in with that contrast a little bit later. For his little pouches and little gear, I'm going to go in with some fur brown from the War Painter set also. And I'm just going to be laying a base layer on there, and I'm actually going to go over it with that. It's a flesh wash, but I'm going to go over that with that wash a little bit later to just give this more dimension. Alright, so I know I'm showing a bunch of beautiful greens that I'm actually using on his cape in the video, but after the video I went back and repainted his cape brown with the fur brown and darker brown that I found, just for those shadows and highlights, but I was not fond of the green cape in this video. Alright, so for layer number 2 on the blue, I went through with some crystal blue and some ultramarine blue just for that second layer. Alright, so it is finally time for the wash stage. I used a darker yellow wash for all of the yellow parts of the suit. I went in with a Space Wolves Gray contrast for the gun and the arm, as well as all of the other smaller things. And I don't know if you can tell, but in the video I actually did spill a bunch of paint. And I can confirm that it does not stain, which is always a plus. I am going in with some Moon Dust Yellow to do my highlights on the yellow as well, before I went in with that Space Wolves Gray. Soon I'm going to be going in with two thin coats, one of their red shades for the X-Men symbols. He has two on the front. He has a few others, but I did not actually paint those ones because they were hard to reach. And I just used matte black for the X's themselves, which is just Army's standard black. And with that, Cable is all done. Just doing some finishing touches on his cape right now, but here's what he looked like in the end.